Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media, but actually it's just Betsy because Thomas is over in the other room. He's not feeling so good, but he has so many incredible things to say. So I'm hoping if I talk about this, he'll go, oh, she has no idea what she's talking about, and come over here and join me. Because I was really excited. Yesterday there was an executive order that Trump signed, and it's doing some amazing things with technology that I think are going to head us in the right direction. And then also the stuff with 5G and Huawei. Isn't that how you pronounce that? Is that how you pronounce that, Thomas? Huawei? Huawei? Okay, see how I'm going to bring him in? Oh, I think I hear him. And then also this contact page that Trump has for social media. It's really interesting what could be done with this. And then finally, if any of you join or are part of our site, we posted the Senate hearings on 5G. It was a little over 2 hours, boring, but basically these senators are all hoodwinked by the people that own this technology. I think when they went in there, they couldn't even ask questions on health and safety. But, oh, Thomas, look at you.
Well, hi, Betsy.
Really? Seriously, that's how it works. So, come on, you know you can do it. It's so exciting what's been going on the last few days.
Well, it certainly is. We had already told everyone.
And by the way, you are a little stuffy because you do have a little congestion. So
yeah, I got some kind of something. Anyway, it's very exciting because this new executive order is another declaration of a national emergency. And because of that, and because it happens to fit the parameters that Obama set up, don't forget, Obama clustered together, 13, 14, 15, depending how you want to look at it, different executive orders that when they're bundled together makes the president have the greatest martial law authority ever created in U.S. history. Now, at the end, Obama even added, if there's a solar flare he doesn't like, he can declare not only martial law, but he can take your money out of your account, he can enter your house, take your food, your guns, anything. It is the most unbelievable thing going on.
We were freaking out here, remember, when we first found out about it? And we realized that they were teeing this up for Hillary's takeover?
Hillary was going to have martial law because she was going to start World War III. That's right there in her in the intelligence community report, the Paradox of Progress. Now, going back to this executive order, this isn't the first one, okay? We are under multiple national emergencies, not only with the border and with drugs and with the opioid crisis, but now with what we told everybody was going on. Now, how much does Trump know about 5G? About as much as everybody else, 0. So, when he started to find out about it, what did he do? He noticed that the CFIUS committee was getting ready to give the entire contract for land-based 5G antennas to the combination of Broadcom and Qualcomm. This had already gone through the multiple votes for the CFIUS and the committees that support CFIUS. That's the Committee for International Investment in the United States. And, of course...
the same committee that allowed all this uranium to go back and forth between Russia and us?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The uranium one deal.
Jeff Sessions was on and allowed all that to happen under his watch?
Well, he was on 5 committees, and 3 of them had direct connection to CFIUS approval, and he approved it. So, From the beginning, Jeff Sessions was in on Uranium 1 trying to cover himself. But the new national emergency is because of the following. And this is most interesting. We had said this from the beginning because people freaked out when Trump said, he's for 5G, 6G, 7G, well, I'll take all the Gs, and we need to be ahead of everybody. That's what he said. And it freaked everybody out because they said, but what? What about the health issues? What about the fact that it's an extinction event? What about the fact that every egg and every ovary is going to be cooked that is exposed to this, especially anything above 100 gig up into the milliwave.
Look, it's just untested on living beings. Because it's untested, it can't be rolled out. It should not be rolled out.
Microwave, diffuse microwave that's already 4G is already sterilizing people. The number one problem that women go to doctors for in America is the inability to get pregnant. Now, why is that happening? For many reasons, environmental damage, but also for 4G. and there's tremendous amount of people who were sick because of 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. 5G is going to put it over the edge. Now, why did Trump do this? People said when he made the announcement he wanted 5G and needed to beat everybody else to it. Okay, well, we can't. Let's put things in perspective. The wireless component of 5G is either through Samsung, Nokia, or a Swedish company, Ericsson. They own the technology, and we aren't going to catch up with them. And as the technology is rolled out, unfortunately, those companies and the other two, those three companies, and then the companies below them providing the the network system itself, and we can debate that, whether it's going to be satellites or land-based. It's a bunch of craziness. But anyway, the four big telecommunications companies in America have signed up to get the $40 billion a year subsidies to install these antennas so that Nokia, Samsung, and Ericsson can get the contracts, because the contracts for wireless run on the chip, and the chip for the wireless is not owned by China, and it's only owned by those three companies. And no matter what, you're not going to catch up with them. And that was in the testimony, but the testimony was completely slanted. That was before the Senate Judiciary Committee. They didn't talk about the health effects. They didn't talk about what Trump was really doing. They clearly said that anyone who is associating with adversarial countries or adversaries, which would be China, no business with them. That means, and then they ask about the Five Eyes. What about the Five Eyes? What about Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Britain, and America? If we're not going to allow Huawei, because we know, after looking at what they've done in all these other countries, that they're just going to surveil everyone, build in the back doors, build in the mechanical engines on top of their microchips, and completely control it all, as well as all they have to do is turn it up. And if they turn it up, we all fry. Now, are we really going to give the ability to have access to all of our data, information, military, corporate-wise, personal-wise, to the Chinese? Well, Hillary Clinton tried to lead us in that direction with Walmart. But we do not promote that. China is our enemy, and that was made perfectly clear. We are the few people who in the last 2 years have said, China is our enemy. We are at war with China. We are in a massive cyber war with China. There's hardly any system in America that has not been breached by China. Now, they're admitting that's all true. So they had to get rid of all of the Chinese semiconductors and microchips in everything military. Then they had to get the Kaspersky programming Russian out of our military also. Why would we allow communists to build microchips that we use to run our military when they're supposedly our enemies, and they can have a 0-day or a backdoor or a kill switch or a surveillance switch or a mechanical engine that control any of our weapons?
So for folks out there, Thomas and I are in our 60s. We were talking about this the other day. When we were growing up, China was the enemy. I mean, if you'd said anything about China, communist Chinese, and it went on for a while. But then all of a sudden, things in the politics started shifting, that China was okay to work with, and it was our friend. And that was about, when you look back at it, about during the Clinton times.
Yeah, good old Nixon, breached.
Oh, even back that far?
Well, he breached it, but it wasn't until Hillary went over and made sure. Remember, Hillary in North
Well, I was
Arkansas.
saying Bill Clinton days.
I'm talking Hillary and Bill.
Okay.
Tyson Foods. And
Walmart, right?
And Walmart, Northern Arkansas, the secret air bases, the Iran-Contra scandal, and Chinese investment in America came through the Clintons.
I mean, I actually believe I can make this statement, and you and Michael could back it up with evidence. Hillary and Bill Clinton are Chinese spies and operatives.
They are communists through and through. But then he's a Rhodes Scholar. One of the few who ever failed as a Rhodes Scholar.
Okay, so I clarified, they're communists.
And he went to Russia.
Uh-huh.
So Bill Clinton, as a Rhodes Scholar, went to Russia. So if you want to talk about Russian connections, it's the Clintons. It's not our president. Now, going on with what our genius president is doing. Because England, after 10 years of using Huawei and finding that they absolutely lie, cheat, steal, never fix anything, absolutely say they're going to fix everything, they never fix anything. They go on ahead and develop their own technology beyond you, but they don't share it. They don't do updates. And even if they did do updates, you can't trust anything the Chinese do, so they could simply update it to be non-secure. So they found this out of 10 years working with Huawei in Britain. And then Britain just said, we're going to go with Huawei for 5G. Now, why is that? Because they're offering deals. But the deals are the short-term deals. Later on, you're going to have to pay the same amount as everybody else. And that's the problem with the Chinese. They always lie. And as the testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee pointed out, which we pointed out already, any corporation that does business with any corporation in China is doing business with the Chinese Central Committee, period. And you must abide by their rules and regulations. And their rules and regulations change second to second by how they vote. So there is no working with China. You'd have to be out of your friggin' mind to work with China.
A lot of people are brainwashed to think that it might be okay. And I'm just saying to you, from our own life experience, it's not always been that way. It's really only been that way since the Clintons came on the scene.
Now, mind you, Britain, through HSBC, the most corrupt bank maybe in the face of the earth, except for the Bank of England, through Singapore, through Hong Kong, they do business with China and they manipulate China. They tried to tell China they could become rulers of the capitalistic global world. They can't. They're basically, it's a scam. China's going to be left out to dry because you cannot turn a totalitarian communist government into a capitalistic country. Not possible. You have a lot of stages you have to go through, and they haven't gone through them. And that's why they opened a stock market. And there were 5 people who made a ton of money off the stock market because they were good investors. What happened to them? They all disappeared. They were killed. So if you make too much money in a stock market, an open market looking stock market, you get killed in China. If I could go on and on and on, but the point is we are at war with China.
Yes.
We cannot allow ZTE, Huawei, or any Chinese tech equipment into this country, into our military, or into any country that is part of our Five Eyes or wishes to have any communication with us that is secure, because it's not possible if it comes from Chinese equipment.
But here's where the brilliance lies. Because of the Huawei situation, and you're going to tell Britain that they can't be a part of the intelligence community. That is the surface thing, because we know it goes deeper. We know that it was Arvinder Sambhai and Robert Mueller who are at the heart of the coup, and you and Michael just did a brilliant audio explaining that, and you show all the evidence. So, but if Trump were to come out and rebuff Britain for that, the rest of the population isn't open. They don't understand those names yet. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. If Trump would redact the FISA court supplemental material that was used as supporting material to demonstrate beyond a shadow of a doubt that Carter Page was indeed a Russian spy, which he was not. When Trump redacts that, it's going to show that it was a British spy gate. It was led by the Brits. Of course, they used our intelligence agencies, but that's because they're Five Eyes. We use them, they use us.
But this way, it still shuts them out of us.
We poke out one of the Five Eyes because we say to Britain, you're connected to Huawei. We're done with you.
Yes, bye.
Period. No more communication whatsoever. That also means corporate communication.
Yes.
It means currency. It means any exchange in the internet, period.
But then why wouldn't Italy want to follow suit? Italy may not want Chinese to spy on them.
The European Union has no free speech, and they really don't know what's going on, okay? So you can't hold anyone in Europe much responsible for not knowing what the government does not allow anyone to know. So what will happen with 5G? 5G just needs to be closed down. There needs to be a moratorium. Huawei, close it down completely. Now, Trump is in a tariff war with China. Wrong. He is in a war with China. The tariff war is the economic aspects. We've told you about that. Then there's the sanctions aspect. Then there was he went over and did $850 billion deal with them. None of that followed through. Why? Because the Chinese are liars. Everything they agreed to get that $850 billion in deals that he created while he was there, they didn't get a dime of it. Why? Because they're liars. IBM sold their laptop making company, Lenovo, to China. What happened? Same thing with ZTE, same thing with every phone that comes out of China. Everything that comes out of China. It's so stuffed with secret surveillance and targeting ability and ability to do literally manipulation of you, subliminal manipulation. It is thick in every one of these devices. And when it was found out, this is when Trump is the one who said, because of that, I'm removing every single Chinese semiconductor and microchip from everything military immediately. And he did. What is that going to do to China? Okay, first off, the cyber war that we are in with China, where literally they went into the Office of Personnel Management and got every name of every person who works for the government and all their social security numbers, and they're all ready to move over here and take over as soon as they get that 5G and they can kill us and we don't propagate anymore because all the eggs and the ovaries are dead. They intend to come in and use what they have hacked.
Well, it's like a cyber Trojan horse.
Yes.
We let them in, and then within it kills us.
And because so many corporations, because they're not held to any account on anything legally or otherwise, went to China, had them build their product, they basically just suck the IP out of them. In other words, they had to because they were in the downline of what to build, so they were able to get the IP, the intellectual property, the patents. And so in this testimony, they discussed a lot about patents. And they discussed the Five Eyes. And they said, no more Five Eyes. Anybody with Huawei, anyone with ZTE, anybody with anything Chinese, we're done with you. That's what this national emergency is about. Trump woke up to the reality because obviously he's paying attention now to the fact that an entire worldwide movement, grassroots, has started against 5G.
Yes. And that is a big thanks to everybody out there for activating your networks to get this movement going. Because like we say, we can't expect the president to know everything. And so what you did is you helped enlighten and educate him and others.
And the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, has no responsibility whatsoever for anybody's health concerning any of this. All they do is they assign bandwidth. That's it. And make sure isn't monopoly racketeering going on. They don't care. They have only one standard, and that standard is if you stand in front of the antenna, does it burn your skin? And if it does not burn your skin and raise a blister, then they don't care. Well, microwave cooks from the inside out, stupid. It ain't going to cook you from the outside in. This is stupid. And milliwave is even worse than microwave. It's a higher frequency, shorter bandwidth, and it is more pervasive. And you are in even more of a cloud than in diffuse microwave 4G. 5G, milliwave, is the exact thing that the military uses to attack people with. And all they have to do is dial up the frequency, and they can do anything from kill you to make you pass out.
Then I guess we can say that human experimentation has been conducted by them, and it is unsafe.
Correct. Active denial is the name of the system, but there's many systems. The poppers that they used in Iraq and so on and so forth.
Well, we do not want that technology in the Chinese hands on poles in my front yard. So we must resist this.
Totally. And China has already set it up in sections of their country. They've already arrested 13 million people and messed up their lives completely because of their social credit system called Dragonfly. Eric Schmidt, you're a liar.
The other Eric Schmidt thing is these Waymo driverless cars. Everyone in this audience, stay away from those things. We've talked about them before, but I won't go into it. And I also want to get, before we close, I want to look at this new hotline that Trump set up for problems that you might be having with your social media.
Okay, well, let's finish out the 5G. Yes. Mm-hmm. So Trump is basically saying, I've already seen the evidence. I know it was you Brits. Crown Gate, British Gate, Spygate, Stephen Halper, Richard Dearlove, Patty, the whole gang. I know who you are. I read. Aim for truth. You'd be stupid not to, right? I mean, we're the only ones telling the world what is actually going on. The rest of them are catching up. Now, we're a year and a half ahead. So it's going to take a year and a half, 2 years for this to manifest. So we're sitting back and laughing at this point. But as we do, and as we watch Trump do what he's doing, he is setting himself up for the most powerful position that any president has ever been in history, because he's going to take what was prepared for Hillary Clinton and use that to good. So his immigration plan that he just put forward, that's part of the national emergency also, you see. And so he can, as a campaign tool, he just said, here is the best immigration plan in 54 years. And if the Democrats don't vote for it, fine. Make sure to vote Republicans into the House, and then we'll pass it instantaneously the day after the election.
But can you imagine even how more amazing our country's going to be when immigration's based on merit?
The next topic is about the Silicon Valley fake cardboard cutout cyber warlords. Okay? And who do they use? China. That's who. Apple is going to go really into a very bad scenario because of what Trump just did. Because who cares about the tariffs if nobody wants to buy their technology? That's how they make their money right now. They don't even have enough food for their own people. They don't have enough resources to build the technology. They have to buy those resources from other countries. They won't have the money. And China is crashing right now. It's crashing like crazy. And their attempt at capitalism, crashing. Any corporation that's over there right now, crashing. Hillary and her Broadcom, sorry, you didn't get the contract, Hillary, because we told everyone who you were working with, the Chinese. So, who cares about tariffs? Who cares about the cyber war? The cyber war is over. We just kicked them out of our country. Not only did we kick them out, we alerted the whole rest of the world to them and said we're not going to work with anybody who works with China because China's our enemy, and they've been in a cyber warfare with us for a long time, unacknowledged at all by Obama, by Mueller, by Comey, by any of those people. No. China didn't do anything, never done anything wrong to us.
Certainly the CIA would know about that.
China has attacked us 100 times worse than anybody else because normally, if they say it was North Korea, that's a lie. That was China. If they say it was South Korea, that's a lie. That was China. If they say it was Iran, that's a lie. That was China. Okay? And we know this because we found the very places that they were using, because they were tracked back to the border between North Korea and China. And when we found that very building, then the war started and the chemical plants blew up and the munitions plant in Japan blew up and blah, blah, blah. But the point is, cyber warfare, it's over. You're busted. Tariffs, China, it's over. You're busted. Your bad products, it's over. We don't want them. We're going to make our own good products. All you tech lords who all went over there, Uri Milner and James Breyer and
Eric Schmidt
and the other, all those crazy people.
Yeah.
What did we tell you was going to happen to you? You're going to go over there, you're going to love it, and they're going to eat you. Yeah. And you won't get out alive. Yeah. Facebook went over there. What happened? Instantaneously, all the soy boys and all those snowflakes at Facebook started to say, we're not going to do that, and we're not going to participate in any credit system, social credit system, and we're not. And then the people at Google walked out because why? They're not going to participate in Dragonfly. They don't want what Silicon Valley has done in China to happen to America. It's not going to.
And the best thing is there are plenty of great jobs in the new Trump economy. So all of you people at Google, which is the enemy, and Facebook, another enemy, find another job.
Yeah, so what Trump is doing to Britain and China are, might as well say they're linked at the hip. But what he just did with this national emergency is, as you said, he doesn't have to say to the Brits, I know that you're lying, stinking spies, and you tried to overthrow me through a coup d'etat, a color revolution that you and George Soros, who is, a member of the Privy Council practically, and Patty and Malik Brown and Richard Dearlove and Andrew Wood. I know all that. I'm just going to skirt around it. I'm going to put sanctions on you pigs in Britain who did this. And you notice the Strategic Communication Laboratory, it just died. You notice Cambridge Analytica, just died. You notice Serco is being charged with 86
Look, we
billion.
got to get Serco out of our patent office.
We got to get them all out.
And if you're listening out there and you have a patent, do not give it to the U.S. Patent Office right now. It's run by Serco, which is a British company. And they're just going to suck the best patents and keep them for themselves.
And
it'll get straightened out soon, so just hold tight.
And here's the other thing. Where do you think the Chinese got a lot of these ideas? From Serco, because Serco's run by the Brits, and the Brits steal our patents, as a matter of fact, to even have them looked at. Any patent that goes to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, what happens? It goes to Serco. Serco puts it in a system where it's literally sent out of the country, it's analyzed, and then they determine whether it has any national security value and can be weaponized, and if it does, you don't get your patent back. And if you try to get it back, or you try to do anything, they put you in jail, fine you, or kill you. Who do you think they gave it to build these things? The Brits stole it from the Americans and had the Chinese build it. That's the reason no one can figure out. How did the Chinese get everything? How did they get everything in our modern age? The corporations didn't give them everything. Yeah, the Brits gave them everything because they stole the patents. That's going to end now because Trump found the straw that broke the camel's back, and that is Huawei and 5G. And I believe, and I said from the beginning, that what he was really saying was, oh, I like 5G, give me 6, 7, 8, give them all to me. Because he knew that we didn't have that technology. The Japanese and the Swedes have it. Not even the Chinese have it. And so what he was saying was, and that's what I said at the time, he's talking about the military advantage. It is insane to think that our military will not beat China or Sweden or Japan to building whatever the next technology is. Doesn't mean we need to use it.
Okay,
but by golly, we need to be able to defend ourselves against it. And so what he was saying was not that he wants 5G to go instantaneously everywhere, built by anybody, anywhere, anytime, anyplace. No, what he was saying was we can't give away the military advantage of 5G because he knows full well that active denial is used, and he's seen it used in front of his eyes. They did demonstrations for him and the Queen and the whole thing. No, he knows exactly what 5G can do in a military sense, and he doesn't want China or Japan or Sweden or anybody else to have that power.
Well, it's still working out because we need our citizenry to be awake to 5G. Now, I'm finished with the 5G. I want to move on to this other topic because this is the social media hotline.
Yeah.
And you say it's going to lead to what?
The proof that George Soros' donation to Facebook and Eric Schmidt's donation to Google, the U.S. Digital News Agency from Google, which is basically scrubbing every speck of news that they can. And if you do not meet the exact words that are part of the approved program, you are simply dropped, and they say that an AI did it. In other words, machines are blamed for doing what Zuckerberg is doing politically and Schmidt is doing politically. So, what is going on there? He is collecting the evidence for a monopoly antitrust RICO suit. And so, yes, please send in any information of anyone who is a conservative or a truth teller.
If you're shadow banned or whatever it is, the problems you're having.
Right.
Because we need to build the case and we need it to be overwhelming.
And he already knows, because Brad
Parscale
has already done the analysis on his own Twitter feed, and Trump has said it again and again. You're messing with my Twitter feed. You don't let people on. You may make it impossible for them to get there. You make sure there's glitches. You shadow. He didn't say shadow ban.
I know, but even if I hear a lot from people in our comment boxes that they're not able to pass our audios onto in their Twitter feeds and things like that. Well, if you were having that experience, please go, and I'll have that link in the description box. Go to the hotline and put your complaint in there.
Soros stopped free speech in Europe and Britain by the Cambridge Digital Forensic Investigation Laboratory. Now, that group is the one that gave the supposed artificial intelligence. It's not. It's a subroutine, and all it does is flag words and pictures, and then you're simply dropped. And there's no, in some cases, human involved, because why? They just find a word in something that you've done, even if it's in your own thread. Let's say you put up a thread about something beautiful and lovely, and then someone writes something negative, you can get a hit against you. It goes in, it analyzes that. We've already been told this. Article 13, Article 15, free speech is dead. The Cambridge Digital Forensic Lab, they make sure that there's no free speech. And the U.S. Digital News Agency is making certain that only avid and ISIS management prompting narratives are read through the mainstream media because
basically
it's
they're
controlled.
freaking out because people are waking up faster than they ever imagined could happen. There's a worldwide awakening thanks to the internet and how fast we're able to get truth out to everyone kind of simultaneously. So, for example, if here a group of people, of influential people in America, are awake to what Arvinder Sambai and Robert Mueller were doing in the overthrow of Donald Trump, but it's also being realized in the UK, because I get letters and notes from people going, oh my gosh, this is happening, and then they're able to educate people over there. That contributes to truth coming out.
So Trump is a genius. Another national emergency just puts him in power and lets the Dems know, because the Dems were fully aware when the 13 executive orders were bundled together that it was to set up the White House as a permanent White House. They're probably freaking out at this point because everything he does is so clever, like his immigration announcement in the Rose Garden today. That was basically saying it put the entire onus of human trafficking, basically rape, drugs, killings, you name it, the incentives for coming up to that border were all put into the laps of the Democrats. And if those demon rats, those anarchists, don't pass a bill soon, people are going to notice. And also, all it's going to do is make sure that the Republicans get back the House. And as Trump said in his speech today, then the immigration package will go forward. And certainly, no matter what, his national emergency on basically adversary powers through technology penetrating America is one of the most open doors that he has created since he became the president. That gives him the power to do things like stop Silicon Valley, stop Eric Schmidt giving technology to China, stop China's technology from being spread throughout the world, collapse China's economy. That's what's going to happen, folks. It's collapsing now. Last time I checked, they had lost 25% of the value of their stock market, okay? That was because of Trump's tariffs. Now that the tariff war is happening, China's history.
And then China says, well, we're going to cash in our bonds and our treasuries and everything. Go ahead, because when the Federal Reserve collapses, that money doesn't mean anything anyway.
Well, they had already threatened us that along with Russia, and they cashed in, I forget how much money it was. It was, I'm not even going to quote it because it's so huge, but what the Fed did immediately, they printed that much cash and bought those bonds.
Yes.
In less than 1 second.
Yes, but
so the second those bonds came on the market was supposed to crash our currency and our economy and our stock market. The Fed itself, off-book transactions, $4.5 trillion unaccounted for in just that time period, and that was the money that was used to buy back those federal bonds.
Yes.
So China, you can't get us, and neither can you, Russia?
No, we just use the Chinese strategy that you say that they use on the rest of the world. They tell you one thing and do something else. So we told you that our fiat currency had value. Sorry. But we got a lot of stuff from you.
and by the way, I used to work with the Nippon family in Japan and with Chinese families who were funding what I was doing in Hawaii, and they gave millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to this, tens of millions. And so I got to know these people, and I got to see what happened to China and what happened to Japan. Because they were saying Japan was going to take over America. They bought up all of our concessions for our national parks. They bought everything for sale in America. And then what happened? They changed their laws because we manipulated them to, their hereditary laws of inheritance. And all of a sudden, Japan, we bought everything back pennies on the dollar. That's what's going to happen for China. Come on over, China. Buy Hollywood. Buy every expensive piece of real estate you can. because soon you'll be selling them back to us for pennies on the dollar.